So I'm gonna tell you what dry brushing, I use either some nice thick paper towels like shop towels, or I use a paper plate. And the paint that I'm using to dry brush is Drop Cloth by Dixie Belle. To dry brush, I use a really stiff old brush. It's kind of worn out where the bristles are stiff. And this is just an old Valspar paintbrush, so nothing fancy. You really want kind of stiff bristles. Another brush that works good for this is a chip brush. So I use this, and I will open the paint. There's just a little paint in the lid here, and I'll just barely dab into that. So just barely get some on. You really want super light amount of paint on your brush, like almost nothing, you know. So I know it's a little hard to see where I am, but I take these thick paper towels, and I'm gonna take this brush that I dabbed just a little bit of paint on, and I'm really just going to rub off I want most of the paint gone from that brush. If you need more, you can always put your brush back on here and get some more. But I'm gonna just really get most of the paint off. And I've got this mason jar here that I painted with Dixie Belle color kudzu. It's a really pretty green. So I just want to dry brush, and I'm gonna start, I just kind of start up here at the lid, because if I get a little extra, so you just kind of, to dry brush, and you can do this to furniture. Oop, I still have a little too much paint on here, so I just really want this super, super thin. I have a mess, really a mess, just brushes and paint everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna start again, and I'm just gonna kind of, oh, there's still too much paint on this brush. Let me see if I can fix that. I think I'm using the wrong brush, actually. Let me try this again. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry, that is not what I intended to do. See, I got way too much paint on there. A dry brush should really be, you just really don't. I'm gonna wipe that off, because that's not what I wanted to do. Let me start over here. Sorry, folks. That's what happens when you paint. It's like, who knows what's gonna happen. You just sort of roll with it and do something else. So I'm trying again. This was the dry brush. I reached for a brush that I had already used that was wet. So a little paint on here. I'm just gonna kind of see how it just barely gets anything on there. You just really want like a light. I just really want to hit highlights. You can go either direction. It's hard to see what I'm doing here because I can't, and I got a little too much. If you get too much, you can just kind of try to wipe it back with a paper towel. And just kind of try to it's almost like stabbing it on, but being a real light hand. And what happens is these little areas where it's raised, it'll kind of accentuate those. See how it accentuates that mason? It almost gives it a distressed look without using sandpaper. So that's kind of the look I'm going for here. And the nice thing about paint is if it messes up, it's not what you want, you can always repaint it. You know, that's what I like about it. It's kind of fun because you can always just start over. Cover it back up with a different color. Whatever you want to do, honestly. Options are endless when it comes to paint, and chalk paint especially, because it's water-based paint. So it's fun to play around with. It's not toxic. It doesn't stink. You can use it safely indoors. You don't have to worry about fumes. You know, it's real safe. So yeah, this is dry brushing, and you can see kind of what it does. It's a little tricky to see with this light. I apologize, but you can see how it kind of just accentuates areas of that jar. What I plan to do with this is put a little greenery, maybe some ribbon, maybe like a little burlap ribbon, and then I'm gonna just kind of use it for Christmas decor. So that's dry brushing. You want really stiff bristles, very minimal paint. Rub off almost all your paint on either a paper plate or a paper towel, and then kind of just take your brush at an angle and kind of just lightly brush across. Start with a light hand. I started way too heavy-handed up here at the top and got an effect I didn't want. Luckily, you can use a damp paper towel and wipe it off, you know, and that's fine. That's the nice thing about it, is it's very versatile. But this kind of is giving the effect I want. And you can do this as much as or as little as you want. If you want just very few, like little dry brush accents, just keep your hand really light. So I don't know if you can see that. It kind of gives it just a little bit of a distressed or an aged look. I think it's really, you know, a little something besides just the plain green. Not that there's anything wrong with it being plain. But I'll show you the other one I'll show you is the red one that I did. This is Dixie Belle Barn Red, and I put a little dry brushed drop cloth, the color drop cloth on that. It's a drop cloth is an off-white. So yeah, that's that one. So I'm gonna use these three together. I've got two kudzu and one barn red, and then I've got some ribbon and some greenery that I'm gonna stick in there. So really simple way to do some holiday decor. All right, if you have any questions about dry brushing, just let me know. And again, just use a really old stiff. You don't want to use your good smooth brushes that you would use to get like a really nice finish on furniture. This is just sort of playing around. You want stiff bristles, okay?